All right, what up, Discord? This is your guy, Russo. It's your boy, Sosa. I don't know, however you want to call me. Or I guess some people in here know me by Jason. This is like my fifth time trying to record this, and my video keeps getting interrupted. So, we going to get through it this time. And I'm about to talk to you guys about how to build tournament lineups that gives you a chance, like a real chance at actually coming in first place when you're doing this whole DFS thing, playing on DraftKings. And the same thing applies if you're playing on FanDuel. So if you're really new, because I know there's a handful of people who've never done this before, you hit lobby. And I'm explaining how to even get to the point to where you're building a lineup. You hit lobby, you go to NFL, there's a lot of different game styles here. We always play on the classic game style. And then all my recommendations and picks, it's always about the Sunday 1 o'clock featured slate. It's always a 1 o'clock featured slate. Unless noted otherwise. But this is what we'll be talking about here. And I already have all my filters on. Based on the type of contest that I like to enter. I'm going to make another video talking about how to set up your filter settings to make sure all the best tournaments that you have a real shot of winning are coming up, and not like the Millionaire Maker where you're going against hundreds of thousands of people. But let me just enter a random tournament. Basically, when you're building lineups, you want to give your chance. You want to give yourself a shot to actually get first place in the lineup. So in the contest. So if I go to like the payout structure, as you can see, if you know how tournaments work even a little bit, you know the higher you place, the more money you get. And when we're building tournament lineups, we want to go for that upside, to go for a top 10, top 5, a first place finish. We're not trying to be right 100% of the time. We're not even trying to be right half the time. That is not necessary. If you can have just a handful of weeks throughout the whole 17-week season where you build a lineup that's finishing up in the top 5, top 10, first place, even if you're wrong the rest of the season, you can have 3 or 4 good weeks. You'll easily be in the green, especially if you capture first place. You'll easily be in the green throughout that season if you can just have a few good weeks. So I'm going to show you how to even build a lineup to try to go after that upside. So the biggest thing when trying to build a tournament lineup is to have some correlation going. And I'm going to use the Seattle Buffalo game as an example. So let's say I like Russell Wilson. Boom, he's my quarterback. If I like Russell Wilson, I'm not going to just stop there and hit, okay, that's my quarterback, and then just randomly fill out running backs and receivers for the rest of my lineup. I'm going to correlate it. Because if I'm right about Russell, if he's going to have a good game, if he's throwing for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, he's just doing his thing, that means someone is catching the ball. Someone's getting a receiving touchdown. So you can stack Russell Wilson with his receivers, or you can even use a tight end, but this is Seattle we're talking about, so I'm going to use receivers. You can use Russell Wilson and his 2 pass catchers, and now what you have right here is called a stack. You're stacking a lineup. You're correlating it so that if Russell Wilson is on fire, hopefully Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are on fire with him. And this is what I mean when I'm saying we're going after upside. We're not worried about hitting the minimum point threshold, the minimum threshold point where we'll just min cash or something like that. We're trying to get first, and if we're wrong about Russell Wilson, then of course we'll be wrong about Tyler and DK Metcalf. They're all correlated in that way, but we don't care. We could come in last for all we care. We're going for first. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we're just trying to be right a handful of times and go after that first place finish. One other way you can correlate this lineup is make this a game stack. So when you're making a game stack, you can throw in a Bills receiver, because at this point you're just telling a story. So in this case, you're saying, all right, Russell Wilson, I think he's going to have a good day. If he's going to have a good day, someone's catching the ball. I hope Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are catching the ball. They're the ones catching the touchdowns. And if Seattle's scoring a lot of points, they're scoring 32, 35, 40 points. That means Buffalo, they have to throw. They got to throw to try to catch up. So I hope Stefon Diggs is doing this thing on the other team, trying to catch up and make it just a high-scoring game overall. And this is called a game stack. And you should I never make any tournament lineup without game stacking it. If I clear this out really quick. If I'm going to use Patrick Mahomes, I'm using Patrick Mahomes with Kansas City receivers and then at least one Carolina receiver on the way back. If I'm using Deshaun Watson, I'm going to also have Will Fuller in that lineup with at least a Jacksonville receiver on the way back. I'm going to correlate my lineup in that way every single time. So if I go back to the build I had before, I'm going to show you one other quick correlation that you can do to like add even more upside correlation in your lineup. So this is where we were at before, where we have this one correlation. All four of these players are are tied together in some sort of way, to where hopefully if one of them is doing good, that means all four of them are doing good. One other thing you could do is just correlate a running back with a receiver on the other team. So if you know football, you know that when you're running the ball, when teams are running the ball, typically they're winning the game. They're winning the game. They're just trying to run the clock out. They want the game to be over. So there's a lot of running plays in the second half. So if I think Houston is going to beat Jacksonville, I want to use a Houston running back like David Johnson and hope he just gets a lot of carries in the second half. Just hope he's doing his thing. He's getting rushing touchdowns, racking up rushing yards, and that Houston's winning the game and they're trying to just run the clock out. If that's the case, that means what? Jacksonville is losing. And if Jacksonville is losing, what are they doing? They're throwing the ball, trying to catch up. So you can use a receiver like DJ Chark and say, all right, these two players are correlated to where if Houston's winning, they're running the ball. David Johnson's doing his thing. And that means Jacksonville's losing. So they're going to be throwing the ball. And hopefully DJ here is going to be racking up all the receiving yards. You got correlation all over this lineup to where if you're right on Russell Wilson, hopefully I'm right about all my receivers here in this little stack. And if I'm right about David Johnson, hopefully they are winning the game. And I'm right about DJ Chark. And then you can just plug in the rest of the lineup with a cheap tight end, a cheap defense, and hopefully just find another running back in a good spot. But when you're building tournament lineups, you always got to have a game stack in place. And you don't necessarily have to correlate past that. Like having a game stack like this, that's pretty good correlation. But you can always take it a step further by saying, all right, I'm going to choose a running back and I'm going to choose a receiver or a tight end on the other team. And hope it's still correlated in that way as well. If you know anything about DFS, this may have been a super basic video. I'm going to make another one, like I said, about tournament selection. And then a bit of game theory with ownership, things like that, by going over some of the lineups that I had success with so far this season. So watch the other videos and welcome to the Discord. Hopefully this is the first video you watching.